Kenyatta has called for peace during and after today's elections. The country is tense ahead of his battle with rival Raila Odinga, which is seen as too close to call. Kenyatta, who is seeking a second and final term, said that he will respect the wishes of the Kenyan people.
Mine is to ask every single eligible citizen to turn out tomorrow in great numbers. Do that which our democracy entitles you to do. Vote for the candidates of your choice. But my plea is that as we do so, let us do so in peace.
All right, let's now cross over to Kenya, where Aldrin Sampear is standing by in Gatundu, which is the hometown of President Uhuru Kenyatta and the place where he will cast his vote in just a few hours' time. Aldrin, a very, very good morning to you. Let's talk about the mood ahead of the voting. We can already see queues that are starting behind you. Talk to us about these elections.
Well, Leanne, good morning. Quite an exciting time for politics, I guess, across the continent. While you guys back at home, Parliament will be deciding on the fate of President Jacob Zuma, whether the motion of no confidence in him will be successful. Here in Kenya, Kenyans are deciding whether Uhuru Kenyatta gets a second term or whether Raila Odinga, his staunch rival, gets to finally become president of this country. Remember that he has been contesting 3 elections. This is now his 4th attempt to do this. And just speaking about the mood in this area as well, 40,000 polling stations across the country have opened just over an hour ago, and this one that we're at the moment, the queue snaking around this school of Matomo Primary School, where Uhuru Kenyatta will be casting his ballot. I was speaking to one of the presiding officers here, saying that the first person that arrived here at the polling station was around 4 a.m. And you know, and quite interestingly as well, is that we managed to speak to a very old lady who's over 100 years old. Not only did she witness the governance of former president or the founding father of this nation, Jomo Kenyatta, but also through former President Moi, Mwai Kibaki, but also now Uhuru Kenyatta. So quite an interesting time indeed for the Kenyans as they decide on their next president or decide whether Uhuru Kenyatta gets a second term. Just a quick message that I see on Twitter from Raila Odinga, who said he greeted all his 1.1 million followers on Twitter, saying that he urges each and every one of them to come out and exercise their patriotic duty and go out to vote. He'll be voting in Kibera later on today, around about 10:30, 11:30 South African time, where he will be casting his ballot. That's obviously a stronghold for him. And that's it. The call that is made is an important call, because it's those people who would come out, part of the 19.6 million registered voters, who will have to come out and decide who the president becomes. And each and every vote will be quite important, considering that Raila Odinga as well as Uhuru Kenyatta are running such a tight race, just taking into consideration what the opinion polls are saying.
Yeah. If we look at these particular elections, the run-up to them has been exceptionally violent, and it's been a worrying time for Kenyans. We're reading that about 130,000 police and security officials have been deployed to the streets of Kenya, worrying that there is going to be an outbreak of violence in whichever direction this particular election result goes. Can you feel it? I mean, is there a sense of very heavy security and a worrying atmosphere in Kenya?
Well, definitely you do get that. For instance, if you look at the rules of the IEBC, that is the Local Electoral Commission, each and every polling station of the 40,000 polling station must have 2 security officials or 2 police officers. However, though, this polling station has more than 5 that I've counted so far, and it speaks to the level of anxiety that is here in Kenya. The local police officers as well. We understand that the contingent of local police officers is over 100,000. However, because of the need and the security threat that there has been, including the likes of Al-Shabaab and a potential post-election violence, the Kenyan Police Authority, as well as the Security Council or cluster, has called on police assistance from the likes of the wildlife and even from the intelligence service of Kenya. So it definitely does speak to that. And also in the run-up to these elections, we heard what happened to Chris Msando. Chris Msando is the former head, or who has now been killed and murdered, the head of IT here at the IEBC. Quite an important role that he played. And a week before the elections, he was found murdered, lying in a field. A lady was found lying just a few meters away from him, and still justice has not been served. Many Kenyans are calling for justice to be served, including the Human Rights Commission of this country. And speaking about the potential election violence, that's the reason why you have the AU's high-level delegation here. You have former President Thabo Mbeki leading that delegation, as well as the Ghanaian former president as well, Mahama, being part of them, and former US Secretary of State. All of them coming together saying that they must ensure, and these are Kenyans that must ensure, that peace does prevail. But yesterday, for instance, when I was in Kibera, I spoke to one of the residents there, stronghold of Raila Odinga, and he made it clear that this time around they are willing to fight. They believe that the previous two elections, that's 2007 and 2013, that the votes have been rigged. And I guess the sentiments being expressed by the likes of Raila Odinga leading up to the election, speaking about the vote rigging, speaking about that police are being deployed to intimidate people, really doesn't send a comforting message. However, though, yesterday, Raila Odinga, just ahead of the elections, had a press briefing where he said he wishes Uhuru Kenyatta well and made the best candidate win. And I guess that was a soothing message, trying to calm the tensions that is currently filling Kenya.
Yeah, all right. We'll keep up to date with you, Aldrin Sampear, who's there in Kenya, following this very, very closely. But certainly an interesting election that's going to be held in Kenya today, and of course real threats of violence after the election results are called, and perhaps during the voting time as well. So we'll keep a very, very close eye on that as well. Let's move back home now and